Andy, it's great to have you on stage. And since high school is long gone, now I can take the front seat. Okay?
I tried to sit in the back seat, but I wasn't fooling anybody when I was in high school. They knew that I was a front seat kid at heart. Dieter, thank you for inviting me here today, and thank you for having us all here. We're here to talk not just about the new E-class, I think, but also to talk about this concept of intelligence. And we all realize it's a fundamentally important concept. It's also a really slippery one. Marvin Minsky is one of my intellectual heroes. He was a legend in computer science at MIT, and he made a really good observation a while back. He said intelligence is one of these suitcase words. In other words, it's a container, and we pack into it a lot of different things, a lot of different meanings, a lot of different concepts. And what I'm noticing is how many different concepts are being packed into this notion of intelligence these days. Some people are taking an inherently human view of intelligence, and in this era of incredibly smart and incredibly powerful machines, what they're essentially saying is, no. Intelligence is what we do. Intelligence is what we human beings are better at. The problem with this view, with this definition of intelligence, is that the machines keep surprising us, and they keep on encroaching into territory that used to belong to us alone. We should keep in mind that the word in computer was actually originally a job description for a human being. It was somebody who sat around and basically did arithmetic all day. Nobody does that anymore. That work has gone 100% digital. For hundreds of years, we thought the highest expression of intelligence was being able to play the game of chess at an extremely high level. We don't believe that anymore. For about 20 years now, the world's best chess player has been a computer. And in fact, the mismatch between human intelligence and machine intelligence is so bad in this area that they asked a human grandmaster a little while back how he would prepare for a match against a computer. And he said, "I'd bring a hammer." So this notion of intelligence as this inherently human quality, this isn't working very well anymore. Some folk are taking exactly the opposite view, and they're looking at intelligence explicitly from the viewpoint of machines, and in particular, how much better the machines are getting. There's a word that we're hearing more often these days called superintelligence. And as it's phrased here by this community, it's a little bit of a scary concept. And the concept is what happens when the machines are essentially better at everything than us? What happens when they can do everything that our minds, our brains, our bodies can do? What's the outcome there? And most of the folk who have looked at this question or thought about it put out some pretty unhappy outcomes. And these include some really phenomenally intelligent people. Folk like Bill Gates and Elon Musk and Stephen Hawking are all worried about this concept of superintelligence. Elon Musk, in fact, says that we are in danger of summoning the demon with these incredibly powerful computers that we're creating. What they have in mind is what we're familiar with from lots of different science fiction movies. It's this notion that the machines are suddenly going to become self-aware, incredibly intelligent and powerful. They're going to start spontaneously communicating with each other. And at some point, they're going to look over at us and say, what do we need them for? And they're going to essentially declare war on humanity. I'm going to worry about this the day my computer spontaneously decides to communicate with my printer. There's a deeper issue here. This is theoretically possible, but that's not the right way to think about it. We are so far away from anything like superintelligence that I think this fear is incredibly misplaced. It's actually harming us because it's detracting attention from some fundamentally important things. I've had the good opportunity to talk to most of the pioneers in artificial intelligence these days, the people who are actually pushing the envelope on these things. And what they say is this nightmare superintelligence scenario, this is so far away from anything that they're currently working on. Over and over again, I hear there's nothing on our current trajectory of research or investigation that's going to get us to that point. My favorite way to think about this comes from a guy named Andrew Ng, who's absolutely one of the rock stars of the artificial intelligence community today. And he said worrying about these outcomes is like worrying about overpopulation on Mars. So So I'm not that bothered about that. So there are these couple different ideas of what intelligence is, neither of them incredibly helpful. I went back to the dictionary and I found a definition that I found super helpful. Because they're talking about intelligence here not inherently in human terms and not explicitly in machine terms. They're saying intelligence is the ability to learn, to understand something new, and to apply it, to put it to work on a problem, to help improve a situation. When I think about intelligence this way, it gives me a lot of insight. I think this is the right way to think about the topic. It also leaves me profoundly optimistic. Because what we're doing now, finally, what we're doing now is building machines that can learn, that can actually dive in and master some new topics. We've been trying to do this for decades. As soon as we had computers, some of the smartest people in the world tried to get them to be good at these tasks. They're finally realizing that promise. And it turns out that once you have enough computing power, and you need a lot, once you have oceans and oceans of data, and once you have really clever people tuning the systems, building the algorithms, you can actually start to do learning. You can start to improve at tasks, some of which are really difficult, some of which used to belong to human beings alone, and a lot of which are extraordinarily valuable. And what I think is going on these days is not that we're building superintelligence and not that we're marginalizing humanity. We finally have machines. We finally have tools that I think of as somewhere between a really, really capable assistant and an extremely valuable colleague to help with whatever it is that we want to get done, whatever situation we want to improve, whatever we want to get more intelligent about. We now have unparalleled tools to help us with that. I want to wind up by giving a couple examples of how important this phenomenon is and talking about grounds for optimism, actually. I feel the need to stress the optimism in a crowd full of journalists because it seems to me sometimes that you all have internalized the lesson of if it bleeds, it leads, and bad news is really, really popular, more popular than good news. That's great, but the bad news headlines can distract us from what's actually going on, some very fundamental trends taking place in the world, really good trends, ones that should leave us optimistic. I think that our two most profound tasks are to improve the human condition and to tread more lightly on the planet. Let me show you some evidence about how well we're doing on both of these fronts. That red line there, that's the raw number of people living in dire poverty around the world. And you notice that even as population is going up, we are doing a better and better job of helping people escape the worst poverty. After decades of stagnation, it's no coincidence that as we are moving deeper into the computer era, we're lifting more and more people out of the worst kind of poverty. While we're doing that, in some really important ways, we are learning to take better care of the planet. This is a graph of how much we are consuming of some really fundamental building blocks of an economy, metal, fertilizer, chemicals, how much we're consuming year by year over the course of a century in America. You notice that U-turn right there at the end? We're finally using less of these materials year after year. It's not because we all decided to stop consuming. That's not what's going on. It's not that we all made a conscious choice to not use any more steel or not use any more copper. That's not what's going on. What's going on is we are, in the deepest way possible, we're learning to do more with literally less. There's no other way to accomplish that except with a lot of intelligence. I want to wind up by showing my two favorite pictures about what's going on in the world these days and how we're doing a better job of taking care of our planet. The first one compares what's been happening over the past century plus in my home state of Massachusetts. We're not tearing down the forests anymore. And the first time I saw this picture, I could not believe it was not photoshopped. But as the world is becoming more and more intelligent, we're actually seeing whales off the coast of New York City. I think that's a good note to end on. Thanks very much.